The first thing that I want to do today is just refactor some code. So if you don't know what refactoring is, it's a term in software engineering that basically just means to change the code around, like rewrite the code without changing the behavior of the software. So a lot of times, when you're prototyping or just developing something for the first time, it's like all free flow. You're just getting stuff out there, and then you end up with a huge mess if you haven't like really thought through the structure of your code. So there's something with the field forge window where it can be a little bit buggy, and I'm hoping that if I go through and refactor the code, maybe it'll highlight something that isn't right. So that's the first thing we're going to do, and then I'm going to move on to building out like another developer tool. So it'll be basically just a mode where like we're in a battle, but I can position units wherever I want, and eventually I can equip like any abilities on them that I want. I can modify like any of their stats. It'll basically be like a god slash debug mode. And the first thing I want to get working is just basic repositioning and like possession of the ball, and then being able to save off, a lot of save states. And I'll come back to like why that's helpful when we get there. But before we dive into anything else, if you've been following along, you've probably been seeing me do some level design for a level called Range A, and I've made some really good progress on it since the last time we met. So I thought I would start with a quick demo and show you guys what that's looking like these days. But I think it's looking pretty good. Let me zoom the camera out just a little bit so you can get the full effect. But I added in like a bunch of particle effects, so it's like a cool rainbow effect now with rain coming out underneath the bird. And it looks a lot more like a bird now than what it used to, in my opinion. And it looks more like a blue jay in particular, which was sort of the inspiration. I've got the ball working, spawning on its nose. And I also added in this cool thing that sort of rotates the field around to kind of create a sense of movement. So yeah, all told, I mean, it's a pretty convincing effect, at least for me, in terms of like realizing what I was going for. But I wanted it to really feel like you're up in the sky, and it's like cloudy and misty and rainy, and yeah, just provide a sense of movement. So worked out pretty good. Let me know what you guys think of this. It's definitely not like your traditional biome. It reminds me a little bit of there's a level in Mario Sunshine where you're on the back of a bird, and it reminded me a little bit of that when I was building it. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to leave it in this state for a while and just do a bunch of play testing on it for the next few weeks. And then I'll go in. I'll probably do a dedicated stream for this where I actually like texture the bird and do some more cool stuff like that. Right now, this is just blocked in colors, and we can potentially make it look a little bit nicer. But yeah, that's the level. So wanted to make sure you guys saw that. Let's see here. I have all kinds of tools on this thing. I'm gonna get distracted by it. Okay, I don't want to get distracted. All right, so that's the Range A. It's looking pretty good. Now let's dig into some coding, huh? I think some coding is a good idea. So let me pull it up actually here. Field Forge. Yeah, so there you get a pretty good view of the bird as well. So let's open up the window. And yeah, for just this first part, just kind of get warmed up, I guess, on the stream. I just want to clean up the code that renders this window and make it a little bit nicer, because it is a mess right now. So let me show you. This is it. So I have everything in this one file. Where's it sitting at? It's like a few hundred lines of code. But I have, the biggest thing is I have this nasty on GUI method, which just does like, I forget what it's called. It's like on demand, you know, uh, GUI layout. And so you just go through and say like, okay, here's like a box and here's a fold out group. And there's all this pairing that you have to do where it's like beginning and ending each group and whatever. And then you can add buttons and all this kind of stuff. But it's just, so I started by pulling out one for TileForge, which is sort of the editor for each individual tile. That's where you can set like its slope and height and all that kind of stuff. And that helps a little bit, but it's still a little bit gnarly. So I wanted to clean this up a little bit more. So let's start by doing a similar thing with the FieldForge. So like on TileForge GUI and then on FieldForge GUI. So I'll just refactor this. And there's actually like tools for this, for those that aren't aware, which is great. Now I can just rename this. So on, if I can type, this is why I wanted to start with this. Okay, so at least at this level, it's like begin scroll view, TileForge GUI, FieldForge GUI, and scroll view. So that makes sense. And then we can just kind of keep breaking it down more and more. Don't really know why I have that space there. That would be interesting to take out and see what it has an impact on. But here's sort of one group. So I thought we'd just do like FieldForge, you know, like standard properties group, I guess. On FieldForge standard properties GUI. Blocking colors should probably go in there too. Oh, I guess that wasn't part of the group. Okay, we'll leave that out. I'll show you guys what the blocking colors. I think I've shown that before. Okay, and then if anything changes, then we want to update the current FieldForge, and then we have our buttons. So let's put all these into a single method. On FieldForge buttons GUI. And then this is like the translation. I expect to flesh this out with more buttons. So it looks a little silly at the moment. This is something I built on stream like last week to get the bird to move up a little bit. I ended up getting that working, which is great. So we'll refactor a method for this, even though there's not a ton in here right now. So this will be like on FieldForge transform buttons GUI. And then this is like all of our selection options. Which includes all of this. Something like that. Okay, this is like so much easier to reason about already. It'd be nice if there was a better place for like these two things. We'll come back to that though. I just want to, let's make sure that this is all working before we go any further. All right, sorry. Okay, let's see if this is working correctly. Okay, yeah, this all looks good. So here's like, I guess we did FieldForge, so it's all down here. So here's like FieldForge standard properties. And then we have, this is the blocking colors. So this is what allows me to color all of the tiles individually. It makes sense sort of on its own. And then I have all the buttons. And then tile transform. Oh, those are broken. Nice. All right, so let's fix that. Why is that broken? That's interesting. Oh, that's tile transform. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, it's because I have the wrong property in there and in here. Wow, so those are bugs from just the other day when I put this in. This is why I'm doing this, because this just needs a little bit of work, and I'm going to be using this a lot as I keep building out all the production content for the game. There we go. That's all working now, as expected. Now if I expand everything, yeah, our scroll view still works too. So that's awesome. Great. Let's call that good on Field Forge for a moment. And now let's do the same thing with the tile. And tile forge GUI. This one might not be quite as interesting. So we just have a single fold out group. What's the end vertical? Begin vertical box. Okay, so these are sort of the standard tile properties. On standard tile forge properties GUI. And then I have, it's kind of like if you're doing just a custom inspector, it's a lot easier to have like key commands that you can bind, can bind to certain actions. But if you're doing a full window, I couldn't find a great way to do it. So you kind of have to just like manually check the event system, and there's conflicts with built-in key commands, and it's all kind of gnarly. So that's what this chunk of code is doing. And this basically just gives me key commands I can do to like easily increase the height of a tile or decrease the height, or increase the slope or decrease the slope, or change like what slope type it is, that kind of thing. So this is like on check event keys, I guess. And then we end by applying the modified properties. So, okay, so that's all pretty nice. Now, I mean, it's still the same amount of code. There's not really any duplicate code in here that we can clean up that would be worth it. But what I do want to do is just kind of visually walk through each of these and make sure that everything matches up. So we have like an end. For every begin, there needs to be an end. So we have begin fold out header group. That's checking tile forge expanded before we like lay out all these property fields. And then we end fold out header group. Before that, we have a begin vertical box and end vertical. So that one looks good. This, there's no actual like GUI rendering or anything. Yeah, so that all makes sense, I think. Okay, on Field Forge standard properties, same thing. We have a begin fold out header group and fold out header group, begin vertical and vertical. So that looks good. We have our buttons. There's nothing to match there. Tile transform. We just looked at this, right? So begin fold out header group and begin end. Okay, this one is a little bit tricky because of those two special ones. We could potentially refactor these into like a reusable method. I don't know how much it would really buy us right now. I'm gonna punt on that. But let's, so we have begin and begin end. Those all match. Begin fold out header group and fold out header group and begin vertical and vertical. Good. And interesting, it's applying the modified properties here. I feel like maybe that should be at the end. I don't think it's really gonna matter, but in case I end up doing anything, where was that before? Oops. Yeah, okay. In case I end up modifying any properties, any of the serialized properties in one of these methods, like I think you need this to be last always, so we'll move that there. This all looks good to me. Yep, all looks great. Didn't really change anything, so it should be all right. We could maybe wrap these guys in a box. That could be kind of nice. There's this space here. We don't need that. I don't think. Let's just get rid of that. Maybe we'll add a box around the blocking colors too. Actually, you know what? Blocking colors should just be part of the tile forge. Or, I mean the field forge. Let's clean that up a little bit. Okay. So let's get rid of this space. And let's move this into the standard right here. Way better. Code looks better. And then we want to have, for tile forge, we want to have a box around the buttons, I think I said. And a fold out group. So tile forge buttons expanded. Ah. Oh, I guess it's field forge buttons. I'll rename this. Okay. And then down here, I need to have these two calls right here. All right, let's see how this looks. Yeah, real nice. Oh, except I'm not checking it. I have to actually check that boolean, make sure it's expanded before I do all the rendering of those buttons. Cool. Yeah, that's real nice. Much nicer. You can't nest fold out headers. End it with end fold out header group. Okay. Where am I nesting it? Where is that nesting happening? Looks like within Field Forge with the colors. Is it because of the built-in like editor for the blocking colors? Has its own fold out? Oh, why is it in there twice? Oh no, that's the background. That's not the... Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so I guess that's probably why I did that initially, is because it like handles its own thing. So guess we have to put it back. Yeah, all right. Could I do a box though around that so it at least looks nicer and matches the others? Should be able to do a box. Oops. Always do that. Ah, yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm happy with this. That looks good. Awesome. All right, let me just do one last quick thing with this, which is to put this in its own method, and then maybe we'll dig into God mode. All right, on field forge, blocking colors GUI. So we have on GUI, on tile, those are a bunch of field forge. There's not much organization around these other methods, but that's all right. Let's do one more quick check, make sure that looks all right. Yep, looks good. I like. Ooh, that's kind of cool looking. Now it's a cardinal. All right. Awesome. I'm gonna get this committed. That's gonna really help me when I add anything else to that. All right, what's the commit message? Refactor, field forge, editor window with many helper methods, I guess. I'm just gonna say actually organize field forge editor window with smaller methods. All right. Cool. Now, let's close this. Ah, see? This is the bug. Oh, maybe it's actually okay. Never mind. Never mind. That's looking good. There's some bug where after I use the window, then this inspector goes blank and it stops responding to selection changes over here. And the only way I can fix it is to restart Unity. There's a whole class of bugs that seem to be like that, where you can only fix the bug by restarting Unity. Which is pretty cool. Pretty cool feature. All right. So next I want to build like a debug slash God mode thing where after I've started a match like this, I can like press a button or press a key and then move everybody around, you know, change whatever I want basically, and then save it off as a save state that I can reload later. And there's several reasons why I want to do this. The first is that like I launched my Steam page about 3 weeks ago, and it was a lot of work to get all the screenshots and trailer and everything put together. But a large part of the work was just like getting the game into a state that was ready for a screenshot or a trailer clip or whatever. And so uh, as I keep working on the game and I like improve the visuals or I add more features or whatever, I want there to be an easy way for me to kind of like go back and just update those screenshots with whatever like the latest and greatest is. Because it's going to be a long time, probably about a year until I launch the game if everything goes according to plan. And so I expect there to be lots of improvements and things I want to show, but it's going to be really cumbersome and like not worth it to do that unless it's quick and easy. So that's one reason why I want to have this mode. A second reason is that just for like general testing and iterating, especially on new abilities, I want to be able to set up like a particular save state, automatically load it, and have the AI like trigger the ability right away for me. And potentially even get that working like while in edit mode would be great, so that I don't have to like wait on recompiles and stuff like that. But this tool should help me with that. And then the most exciting use of the tool is that I'm getting closer and closer to like rounding out the sort of single player adventure mode game loop, which will involve sort of like post battle rewards and leveling up your team, unlocking new abilities, like all that kind of stuff. And in order to set up like specific quests or battles for the adventure mode, I would like to have some kind of tool that helps me do that. So this tool should be the foundation for getting something like that to working too. So yeah, let's dig into it. We'll kind of go over a little bit of the architecture of the actual battle system itself. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to ping the chat about this or anything. And I appreciate you being here if you're here watching. All right. So first things first, we have something called a match manager, which is basically just like a mono behavior wrapper around the game state. And then we have an object just called a match. And this is where all the like, what's called battle state manager. I refer to these as battles, even though they're not battles in the traditional sense. They are matches. They are like football matches. But for all intents and purposes, they're battles. Like it serves the same purpose. But basically, I have this system where it's like a state-driven architecture where each state is actually its own object. And so instead of having like an enum of states and then a bunch of logic, like if then, for each state, I have a dedicated object. And then I have a whole API where each state can kind of hook into various things and modify the environment or whatever. Yeah, so we need to build a new battle state. We can look at some of our current battle states here, like here's the unit action confirmation state. And they're all listed sort of here. So there's like a rewind state, unit acting state, charging times, doing checks for touchdowns, KOs, exploring the field, all this kind of stuff. Granting experience points and level up are their own individual states. So we need a new state. What should we call it? God mode state? That seems a bit presumptuous. How about creator state, maybe? Like creative state? Or planning state? No, not planning. That might actually be part of the game. Could call it debug state too. No, naming is always so hard. Creative state. Or like match create state. Boy golly, why is this one so hard to name? It's gonna set the tone for everything else, so I want to get it right. It's like full control state. Or unlocked state, maybe. Do whatever you want state. Full control state is kind of good. I'm going with that. And let's, we're just gonna like copy one of the existing states and then modify it. So grant exp state is probably the simplest. Full control state. All right. Let's make this so Unity can see it. Okay. For this, I don't know what all I'm going to need access to. I don't know if I certainly don't need experience points. I don't know that I need the battle animator either, but I definitely will need field state and battle state manager. So we'll leave those, but everything else can be stripped out. Menu button enabled is going to be true. Hint view model, we probably don't need anything like this. What's camera pan listener? We probably will need camera pan listener. And cancel button action is going to be back, just for whenever you're done. Okay, yeah, let's do camera pan listener. What's that going to be? Oh, this. Yeah, I think we need all this. So this basically just says whether panning is enabled during the state, which for sure we're going to need that. And then this is an interface, so I got to implement iCamera pan listener. And what else do I need to implement? On pan started. Do I actually need anything in there? No. All right, cool. Let's just try to load this up. So I suppose I probably only want this to be accessible from particular states, maybe even just in the menu. So you have to like launch the menu in order to enter it. For now, I really just want it to be like a key command, like C. If I press the C button, then it takes me into it. So let's open up, not the confirmation state, but it's sort of the main state where you like pick what move you're gonna do. So under unit acting, yeah, it's the state. Input device is left shift button. Yeah, I need to work on this a little bit more, but I'll just add is full control button down. This is just a wrapper abstract around like Unity's input system, and in fact it's around the old input system. I looked at the new one and decided not to go with it yet, but I probably will eventually. And I also probably want to refactor this to be event-driven instead of polling. But this gives me a starting point, and I'm at least abstracted away from Unity system right away, so I'm content with it. Code.c. This way too, I can like inject like settings into this thing, so that as you remap, like as the user remaps any buttons or anything like that, it should not impact any of the code. I'll only have to change it in this one spot. Okay, so then here, if input device dot is full control button down, then battle state manager, I want to enter the full control state and return. Put that down here. Okay, and then I think we need to implement that on match. And we can put this, I don't know where, right here maybe. Enter full control state. So this should just like basically break at the moment. Break the game. That's a sign of progress. I'm gonna have to change one of these guys to be, I'll change both to be human right now. Okay, if I press C, the game should break. Perfect. I can pan, but I can't do anything else. I can't even click. Pressing the back button doesn't do anything. I could probably open up the menu and exit. So that's good, that's working. All right, so that's good. This is what we want right now to start. Next, let's see, what's next? All right, next, maybe we get the cursor working. Is that going to be important for us to have the cursor working? Let's also like clean this up here. Let's look at explore field state and see how the cursor works here, just to remind myself. So this takes in a cursor and a cursor input handler. We listen to the cursor state. And then when the cursor is updated, yeah, we like do stuff. What does the cursor input handler do? Oh, we're just calling update on it. This is what handles the input specifically for that. Okay. Have to think about if that is still the right pattern, but I can bring all of this in to our state. Our new state. They're both my states. Okay. Since I've started doing the streaming, it's been like the usage of we versus mine and all that. It's gotten kind of funny. Makes me feel like I'm a part of a team. Oh, let's rename this. Should be renamed on the other one too, but this is good for now. Cursor view model, cursor input handler. Good. All right, now we have those things. And then I think we we're sort of subscribing and unsubscribing from an event on the cursor here. So cursor view model dot, what was it, state dot updated. This is kind of a cool thing I can show you guys in a little bit. So on cursor state updated. Can I generate this method? Oh, beautiful. Okay. Put that down here. All right, and then inside update, we were just updating the input handler. This is for like keyboard usage, like the keyboard can, or a joystick could manipulate the cursor. I don't love that pattern. I have to come back and fix that. Hopefully I have a warning somewhere saying fix this. I think like I should be able to hide this. I think I should be like, this is a fine implementation, but I should be able to hide it and not like have to do this explicitly whenever I want to use the cursor. It should just kind of work. Cool. All right, let's see what this does. This should have, oh, cool. We have a compiler error. Right, because I modified the arguments. This is just standard dependency injection stuff. That I don't have a framework that does it because I don't know. It's a little bit of a waste of time for me managing all the dependencies, but I kind of like to have full control. Full control. Something that bothers me about the Unity architecture is like you can't do mono behavior constructors and just like pass in dependencies. So that's like the one big pain that frameworks really help with that scenario. But I have some simple patterns that make it not too bad, and I always understand exactly what's happening, which is great. And it's fast. There's no like extra build time stuff. All right, so that should work now. Oh, I should get rid of the, I implemented this nice debug skip match intro. So save me time. Okay, so now if I press C, we're good. Where's the cursor? Oh, I probably need to enable it. Where do I do it here? Is active. I don't know that the order of this really matters. Cool, so the cursor's still there. Hey, nice, I haven't even like tested this in a while. But my keyboard command works. We can move the camera around. The camera is not following along with the cursor. That's probably pretty easy to implement because we have that callback. There's also no click support for tiles. Basically, we should have just copied explore field state entirely. Yeah, that's where the battle animator. So I have this thing that like tilts the camera up when you're picking anything. So that would be maybe helpful to have. One problem at a time though. So probably basically just want all of this stuff. I am curious why the camera is not. Oh, it's because of this right here. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so we're gonna need battle animator. This is becoming like a gigantic object that has tons of helper animations in it. Not just helper, like all the animations in it. Like when the mage is casting, everything is in it. Exciting. Okay, so that's that. And now let's bring in, yeah, unit tapped, tile tapped, internal tile tapped, cursor updated. I don't need cursor updated. That does something different. Scroll cursor view model. I shouldn't need that is active, should I? That smells like a bug waiting to happen. Unless that's where the battle animator call goes, I guess. Okay, so I can click now. And click on units. Oh, when I click on a unit, it goes to them. Is that how explore field works too? I forget. I've gone back and forth on this. So if I explore field. Oh yeah, okay. That's probably how I want it to work. Great. Cool. Excellent. All right, so the first thing I want to be able to do is if I'm highlighting a unit, I want to be able to hit the, like, click or hit the enter key. And then move, like, then they should, like, move along with the cursor. And then if I hit it again, they should plop down there. Like, just very simple moving. So I'm going to need a little bit of state. I almost wonder if I should commit this code, actually. Let me commit this real quick. This is like a good basic point to start from, so I can actually tell what changes I make. Anything else I need? Guess maybe the scene. Okay, so basic implementation of full control mode, or full control state. Basic implementation of full control state. Or I guess like boilerplate implementation is probably better. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna check on a couple of other things here real quick. Cool. All right, so I got that checked in. And so now I want to implement this thing where I can move the characters around. Oh yeah, should we do that tilt up thing? That's probably pretty nice when we go into our mode. Let's do that. So when we enter, we also want to do battle animator dot tilt animate camera up. And then when we exit, we can do battle animator dot animate camera down. I guess this will work for now. That's probably going to be a bug though. Probably want this as part of cancel. And then we'll just tell the game to go back to like whatever state it was in previously. The easiest way to do that is to enter the charging time state. Yeah, that should work for the most part. Let's test that out real quick. Okay, so if we go into our God mode or full control mode, yeah, so the camera is zoomed out a little bit. This will make it easier to like move things around and place them. And if I press back, it goes back. Cool, all right, that's starting to look good. So now what I want is we're gonna need a little extra state here that basically just says, this is private unit. We'll do like maybe holding unit, I guess, carrying unit. Keep thinking of like some of like black and white in some of those games. It's gonna feel a little bit like that, where you can like pick somebody up and move them. All right, let's just call it selected unit. No reason to be too cute with this. Okay, now inside update, oh, I'm gonna need my input management. That's a dependency, input device. Yep. Should break here. Perfect. Okay, now I have my input device. So I want to say like if input device dot is submit button down, then I want to check if the cursor, so let's see, cursor view model dot tile. And then, so let's see, if, we're going to have several cases to handle here, but basically like if selected unit doesn't equal null, actually let's do the null case, this is easier. Selected unit equals null, and the field state dot get unit for tile doesn't equal null, then selected unit equals unit for tile. Okay, that's one. Maybe we return there. just, I don't know, really return. I think that makes sense. If selected unit doesn't equal null, and field state get unit for tile equals null, meaning there's nobody there, then I want to do field state dot set tile for unit, selected unit, and then say selected unit equals null. Now, that doesn't cover all the cases, but I just want to make sure this works reasonably well. Okay, so if I highlight someone, okay, she should be selected. And then if I press enter here, she moves. Perfect. And then if I go back, yeah, they'll just, it's like actually manipulating the state. So this is already looking pretty good. It'd be cool if the unit moved along as the cursor updated, which I think can go in here. So if selected unit doesn't equal null, then, oh, this is going to get a little bit weird. Maybe I don't want to deal with that, especially since this is just a debug tool. I don't need it to like look fancy. I don't want, that's going to cause issues. Like if I hover over where another unit is. Speaking of that, let's break this into two cases. So in this case, I actually want to like maybe swap the units. And I think that this is a bug I've solved before, so this should just work, but I'm a little nervous about it. So let's do this, like var other unit. Get that first. And then let's get the original tile too. For selected unit. Okay, that should just swap them. All right, so let's select this guy, and they swap. Oh, whoops. I didn't reset the state in this case. That needs to happen on both cases. Cool. Okay. That's pretty helpful. I do feel like the camera needs to move with the cursor. I don't actually want this. I think I don't want any of this, except I want to call this like every time. Yeah, it's a little jumpy, but that's okay. Cool. All right. Now, I want to be able to give the ball to whoever I want. Um, do I want an extra key command for this? Say B. All right. So here what I want to do is, and maybe we like probably refactor this similar to what we did earlier. So this will be like check submit button, and then this will be check give ball button. And in this case, let's see, if selected unit equals null, we can just return, do an early return. And then if input device dot is give ball button down, then what we want to do is say field state dot unit with football equals selected unit. Is that going to be enough to make it work? I think it's just going to work. Let's see. Aha. Oh, why is this thing showing up? Okay. Yeah, I'm not quite sure why that's showing up. Anyway, that's a pretty good start. I'm happy with this. And then hopefully it's gone from over here. Yeah, cool. All right, this gives me something to build from. I think I'm going to call the stream a little early today. So thank you so much for joining, if you're here. And I'll hopefully be back on Monday with another stream. Thanks so much.